Well, as soon as I stepped inside the cabin of the all-new Creta, I said to myself, oh no, every other rival in this segment is in big trouble. And not just because of the quality, because the quality is absolutely first rate. The top of the dashboard, the top of the door panel over here, and even the lower end of the center console, a place where a lot of buyers don't pay attention to, is very well made and very well bolted together. Even the smaller switches and all the materials here are absolutely first rate. There's not one plastic which feels out of place, and the cabin feels very opulent, very upmarket. And I think the front end of this cabin is by far the best. The 10-inch touchscreen is fabulous to operate. It's very easy to use, very intuitive to operate. Hyundai makes one of the best touchscreens in the business, and this one is no different. You get all the bells and whistles as well. And of course, the top of the line version comes with the Bose sound stereo, which makes the cabin feel very good. The video quality, the audio quality is very good from the stereo, and definitely if you're spending 19 or 20 lakh rupees on the top of the line versions of this car, you will feel like you've spent your money well, because name a feature and you have it inside the cabin of the all new Hyundai Creta. It really is a fabulous place to be. I'll give it 10 out of 10. What also makes it great are the seats, because the seat comfort is excellent. Support for your under thighs is good, support for your lower back is good, and they've got the right amount of cushioning. It's neither too soft, neither too firm, and after a long day behind the wheel, you will not feel tired or feel bored, because it is a great place to be. You also get a flat bottom steering wheel to give you a sporty touch, and the dials also have a nice mix of analog as well as digital dials, because the center gauge, which is for the speedometer, is all digital, but the ones in the corners, the ref counter as well as the fuel and heat gauge, are traditional needle type gauges, and they definitely add a sporty touch as well as a modern touch to this car. So if we compare the Grand Vitara with the Hyundai Creta, in terms of the overall quality, I think the Creta still has the advantage. It has a slight advantage over this car, because the Grand Vitara overall is quite good, but there are some scratchy bits of plastics and some plastics which could have been better in terms of the quality. In terms of the features, both these cars in the top of the line versions are absolutely neck and neck. There's hardly anything to choose them. The only extra point that the Creta gets is that it has a bigger touchscreen. It has a 10-inch one, this is a 9-inch one, but even then, this is fantastic to operate. It has a lot of information, very easy to navigate through all the menus, sub-menus, and just like the Creta, the sound quality also is very good, even though Maruti Suzuki hasn't really given it any kind of branding like the Creta has, post branding. This one still, the sound quality is excellent. One area where this car has the advantage over the Creta is in seat comfort. The seats, especially on this particular version, the hybrid version, which are quilted, have excellent support for your under thighs, excellent support for your lower back, and you also get very prominent bolsters. So if you're pushing this kind of corners or you're driving down the highway, you sit very snug and tight in them. So Maruti Suzuki really are the masters of very comfortable seats right across the range, and this one definitely has the edge over the Hyundai Creta. So who wins the battle of the front seat ultimately? Well, if you really compare all things, the features are the same: panoramic sunroof, cool front seats, multiple airbags, traction control, etc. In terms of the features, both cars are really very similar, so there's hardly anything to choose between them. But in terms of the overall design, this one I think is now more modern, because the Creta has been around for a couple of years. So this one has the edge in design, but definitely the overall edge in seat comfort is with this car. Plastic quality though, some areas can be improved. Well, sitting in the back seat of the all-new Creta, and headroom is pretty good. Knee room also is more than sufficient. In fact, it is quite good. And I've adjusted the front seat for my height and my driving position, and my height for reference is 5'10". So if your chauffeur is 5'10", 5'11", you will be quite happy in these seats. Even if your own height is about 6'1" or 6'2", you have plenty of place over here to stretch your feet and enjoy the ride. The seat's hob is nice and wide, so you get plenty of place to stretch your feet. Support for your under thighs is good. The backrest angle is good. The overall cushioning is generous, and the car is generally wide, so you can have 3 occupants in the back. The floorboard is almost completely flat, which means that you can have 3 people without any fuss whatsoever. You get your own AC vents, which is now really obligatory across segments, and you also get a USB charging point over in the back. Well, so let's see which car wins the battle of the back seat, the Creta or the Grand Vitara. Now, in terms of the knee room. Both these cars are very identical, very similar, so there's no contest over there. In terms of width also, they're very similar. Seat comfort is generally quite good in both these cars, especially the Vitara. The backrest angle though is slightly more inclined on this car, even though you can move it around a bit, but even in its furthermost position, it's slightly inclined. And also headroom, I think that, you know, for people who are tall, my height is 5'10", but in case somebody who's about 6 feet sits here, his hair will definitely brush over the roof over here. So if you're about 5'10", 5'11", sitting in the back, it's decent, but someone who's about 6 might just have his hair brushing with the roof over here. So the battle of the back seat, I think the overall advantage lies with the Creta. This car is not bad, but yes, in case you're tall, then you might want to be in some other car. So that's the only issue with the car. Other than that, it is quite good. Large windows, AC vents, couple of charging points, one USB Type C and one USB Type A, and in general, nice ambience at the back. But yes, for people who are tall, I would suggest you choose something else. 6 foot plus, definitely you'll have a new hairstyle. Well, so the boot of the all-new Creta is 435 litres, which is almost 10% more than the last version of the car, which was about 400 litres. Now, in terms of the shape and size, it's a nice and square boot, but the best part is that there's absolutely no loading sill, which means that you can easily slide those bags and take them out. Well, so one area where the Grand Vitara falls behind the Hyundai Creta is clearly in the boot department. This is the full hybrid version, the strong hybrid, and this, as you can see, has the battery pack over here, which means that the boot is limited only to 255 litres, which really isn't very generous, and that's one area where this car falls strongly behind the Hyundai Creta. And even on the mild hybrid version, it's about 355, which is again much lesser than on the Creta. So if you are someone who always travels with his family to the hills and stuff like that, you'll have to really ration your bags very carefully and go on a shorter trip rather than going for that long weekend. You might have to go for a short weekend to Himachal for those holidays. Anyways, the battle of the back seat is with the Creta, and the battle of the boot also is with the Creta. And the diesel 1.5 make the identical 115 bhp, and the 1.4 turbocharged petrol makes 140 bhp. Now, if you call yourself a keen driver, then the 1.4 petrol really is the one to go for with 140 bhp. You get a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox along with it, and you can obviously change gears using the manual pedal shifters over here. So that is something which is a unique touch as well. What you really appreciate is the flexibility of this gearbox, and the engine also becomes flexible thanks to this gearbox. No matter what kind of speeds you're doing, no matter what kind of revs you're doing, this gearbox is never in the wrong gear. It always is in the right gear, and that enhances the flexibility of the engine quite greatly as well, and it definitely gives you a lot of confidence from this car. Now, what you'll also enjoy about this car, if you choose the diesel and the petrol 1.5 and the manual version of that, is the fact that the clutch, the gearbox and the steering wheel are all very light to use. In fact, the gearbox is one of the best that I've used. It's very accurate, but still it is light. And the clutch also is a light one, which means that if you drive yourself in the city, you will not feel tired in the least, and you'll enjoy the driving experience. What you'll also enjoy is the excellent visibility all across. You get high set seats up ahead, which gives you a great view of the road ahead. You also get very good visibility from the rearview mirrors. The A-pillar also isn't very overtly chunky, so you can easily look around it, and the view from this mirror over here is also very good. So you are always knowing where your car is, and that is a big boon for people who drive mostly in the city themselves. What you'll also truly appreciate about the Creta is the fact that the overall suspension setup is very good. It's a very good suspension in terms of its composure, and also the fact that it absorbs the bumps quite well. Now, people who drive the car for the thrill of driving will also enjoy it, because even though the steering wheel is light, it's pretty accurate and it's feelsome, and you'll enjoy driving this car up the hills, or even if you decide to take it on a racetrack, you can have some fun on it. And as I just said, the ride comfort is very good. Now, the engines in terms of refinement are very good. Hyundai engines are always known for their refinement, especially the diesels, and it's no different on the new Creta. Even when you're revving this engine hard, the diesel one that is, there's very minimal noise which enters the cabin, so that is something very good. And because the manual versions comes with a 6-speed gearbox, you get great flexibility as well. So if you're doing, say, speeds in excess of 100 kph on the highway, the engine is speeding at a relatively low 1800-1900 rpm in the petrol and about 2200 in the diesel, which makes the cabin feel like a nice and isolated place to be in. Now, talking about the steering wheel of the all-new Creta, no matter which engine option you choose, the steering wheel is light on all of them, which makes it a great car for driving in the city because you won't tire yourself out. It's not overtly heavy, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have good feel and isn't very accurate. It is a very accurate steering wheel, and what's also good about it is that you will not feel nervous on the highway. If you're doing speeds in excess of 100 kph, the car feels very well planted. Then the steering wheel also offers you a good amount of confidence. So that is something which is very good about the new Creta. It's got a good mix of highway stability as well as comfort at slow city speeds. So it is a very well tuned suspension. Well, so here I am driving the Grand Vitara now. Now, no matter which engine you choose the mild hybrid, you can choose the non-hybrid, you can also choose the full hybrid, or you can of course choose the 4x4. One thing is for sure, that you will miss that turbo boost which you get in the Creta's diesel as well as the turbo petrol. That's something which this car does not have to offer. So if you are someone who's a very keen driver and enthusiast, if you really enjoy driving a car a lot and you enjoy that little bit of boost from the turbo unit which kicks in after 2000 rpm, then that's something which you will not find on this car. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not a very exciting car to drive. If you are someone who wants a very exciting package, then you will not find that in this car. But that said, it's a very sensible car to drive, especially if people drive a lot in the city, and the full hybrid version is a great option out there for you. If you're planning to buy a diesel Creta, then maybe you want to think about this, because the fuel efficiency levels are quite good. We drove this car from Udaipur to Delhi, and we got fuel efficiency of about 23-24 kpl on the highway. So it is generally a good car, and you can check that video out in the description box below. But it's also good for city dwellers because it offers you pretty responsive engine when it's running on pure EV mode. The responsiveness is quite good, and of course even when it's running on the hybrid mode, you get decent wave of torque because the additional battery pack gives you that torque, and that helps this car's overall power output and torque output as well. So that's something you need to keep in mind. How is it to drive? Other than that, the ride comfort is one area where this car is ahead of the Creta, both in slow city speeds as well as on the highway. This car definitely has a more planted feel and a more comfortable ride. It's only a marginal difference, but it's definitely there, and it's something which is visible and you can see it. Other than that, if you consider driving in the city, the steering wheel is light, but it's quite accurate, and when you push into corners, there's a little bit of body roll, but it's always under control. So that's also something which is quite good about this car. Engine refinement overall from the petrol motor is good and at par with the Creta, and in general, I think that if you're considering to drive mostly in the city and sometimes in the highway, power is quite adequate. You can't call it very exciting, but it's neither too boring, so it is quite adequately powered, and it's not a car in which you will get bored at the end of a long day. So these are things you need to keep in your mind before you're making a buying decision. And of course, as I said, if you're planning to buy a diesel, then the hybrid version, the strong hybrid version of this car definitely offers you better fuel efficiency than a diesel version would ever. And of course, apart from fuel efficiency, you also get a better refinement, because diesels do make that little bit of clattery noise which this car doesn't offer. So guys, keep these things in mind before you make any kind of buying decision. I'll stop the car now, and then we'll compare the score sheets and give you a final verdict. Well, so overall the Hyundai Creta is a very strong car and a very good car at the end of the day. But that said, the Grand Vitara also isn't a car with which you can just walk over it, because it's a car against which you can't really build a strong case. The reason for that, of course, is that just like the Creta, it offers you a very spacious and a very upmarket cabin. It has a whole host of features which give it a very posh appeal, and it also looks very stylish from the outside. But the advantage area is, of course, the full hybrid tech, which gives you better fuel efficiency than the diesel Creta, and of course the 4x4 all-wheel drive system, which definitely gives this car the edge for purists. If you are a pure SUV driver, you want off-roading skills, then nothing beats this car in that department, in this segment. And of course, it also comes with a host of options like a manual, mild hybrid, as well as a full hybrid, which we've driven today. So overall, the Creta is a very good car, but the all-new Grand Vitara really is the new king of its segment. It's bye for now, and thanks so much for watching.